Hi, I'm Livy. I'm the MD.
Hi, I'm Imogen. I'm the director.
I'm Harvey. I'm the producer and editor.
So I was doing a kind of search through MTI. I was just having a look at shows that was there, like, oh, what could I do next? I was trying to figure out something small and low key. And I thought, two-person sounds good. Listen to the soundtrack, and my first thought was, they're like, okay, I can kind of see where he's going with this. That makes sense, fairly straightforward. Okay, and by the end, I was full on weeping. I was like, okay. So, got to have a look properly at this one. And then I delved further into it and just realised how cleverly structured it is.
I think for me it was similar as well. Like, I first heard the soundtrack. One of my friends was listening to it and said, "You have got to listen to this. It's different and it's great, and there's so much in there. There's a bit for everyone. It's so diverse." So I went and I listened, and it started off and I was like, "This is fun. It's cool. I don't quite understand what's happening at the minute. Don't know where this is going to go, even though I kind of should. I didn't. And then I got to the end and I was like, oh my gosh, this is cool. This is like different. It really, you get to understand them in a way that you don't in any other show, just because of the way that they're overlapping. And then you get that context for both of them in a way that you wouldn't normally have. And then of course the film, I saw that. And I was like, this is really great. It's not done enough. It doesn't get enough recognition. So it
was never really properly on my radar until I was asked to actually produce it. I'd heard one or two of the songs just generally around, but then once I was asked to produce it, I sort of took a listen. And at first I was so confused because of the two characters moving in opposite directions. I didn't know that was a thing. But as I sort of figured that out as going through it, it's like I really appreciated how clever that kind of thing was, and how, yeah, as Imogen said, it allows you to sort of understand the characters a lot deeper than.
Yeah. I think this is what I'm saying about how the music's so important, is that all three of us, we were listening to the soundtrack before we, saw the film or read into it, and we didn't know anything about it. And it is the initial thing that grabs you.
Like, I go between, I do like Moving Too Fast just because it's fun. It just, like, listening to it, it's good fun to listen to. I like Goodbye Until Tomorrow and I Could Never Rescue You just because it's such it's such an interesting moment as well, like especially when you get to that, having like at the end of the show you're like, oh my god. And it kind of makes everything make sense for me. I don't know, that last one, you kind of like tying off their journey, so like, I get it. And it's also great as well. That bit, it's nice to hear them sing together as well, because that's obviously something you don't get very often. But I think those are my two.
A Miracle Could Happen is my favourite. Yeah, it's mainly just because it's that moment where you realise that Jamie's not just this kind of lovable rogue that you kind of have in the first half.
And it's literally the first song after they get married. Woohoo! That is like asking me to choose between my children. I don't like this question. Depends what you mean favourite, if that makes sense. That's the worst thing that you can answer to that sort of question. Like, my favourite to play is Moving Too Fast, because the piano part is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in the world. And not possible, but fun. So, that's like a great thing to do. And Nobody Needs to Know is fantastically written. It's, I don't think I've ever seen or heard something so soul crushing before. Like, it's very well done.
I mean, I think the first thing was that we were like, oh my gosh, we can't not do this. And we can't not do theatre for a whole term. Panic. Imagine not doing a show for a whole term. Oh my god. So we were like, we've got to find a way to do something. We're going to make it work. And I think when me and Livy actually started thinking about it, I mean, it was always in the back of my mind, like, if you are going to do a virtual show where they have to film remotely, this is literally the perfect thing to do. Like, nothing else would really work as well as this. And then we were starting to probably think about it seriously, how it would work. And I think when we realised it would be possible, we were like, we have to make this work. And then we sort of pitched the idea to you, Harvey, and you were like, maybe.
Yeah, I was sceptical at first, just because it is something that was so kind of different. So I was, in my mind, well on the way to it being the original Garden show that we were we were planning. So when everything sort of happened, I was like, well, all that's gone now. So I almost sort of tried to move on from it because I was very sad that it wasn't going to be a thing. But when you guys came to me with the idea and explained it a bit more, it was one of those things where it's a challenge, but it's something new and something that hasn't been done.
It started very much as they'll just film themselves in their room, we'll sing through it, kind of like a FaceTime thing, we'll just go through the show, it'll basically be a recording of them. And as we started to think about it more, it just got more and more complicated, and it's ended up as this, it's basically at this point a film. It's got editing going on, a lot of filming stuff happening. So yeah, it's developed a lot since me and Libby first were like, Harvey, let's just do it online.
I think the thing is that because Maggie came to us initially, didn't she? She texted you being like, look, why don't we just do it on FaceTime or something for like fun, you know, like we can just sing it through, like it would work so well. And we had this kind of thing of, well, not that, but we could do this. And then it evolved, and just realizing that the whole thing about this show is the fact that they're having this temporal separation, you know, they're not ever together. And they're like, well, look where we all are now, you know, having to do a Q&A over Zoom because we can't be in the same room. And it just worked. And especially just all of the things that came together, like cast of 2, band of 6. It's small, it's compact, and it just works.
Yeah, I've been really lucky as well with the whole team have been extremely willing to put their all in and have a go. Like the cast have been amazing. They've done so much. They've like also our camera operators, like they've been amazing. They have other things to do, and they spend hours and hours filming, trying to get it right. And I think obviously like the amount of time that's gone into this has been probably more than would be a normal production, almost, I'd say. Like I think we're really lucky that everyone's been so willing to trust in our idea of let's just do an online show. And everyone's like jumped straight in, and that's the only way that it's been possible, really. I think everyone just putting their all in and giving it a go, even though we don't know what the end result's necessarily going to be.
There have been so many unexpected challenges that I could not have predicted. Like I remember the first rehearsal with Kathy. I was there like, okay, let's see how this works. Maybe the delay's workable. Let's see. And she was literally working like a bar behind me, and I was there like, okay, this isn't sustainable. So this isn't going to work. So all of a sudden, the stuff that I had to do for rehearsals even was so much more than you would have to do for a show, for a live show, because I had to have all of these tracks ready for them to play themselves and sing along to, while I'm just sitting there watching, going, no, back 5 seconds, that wasn't right, do it again. It's all that sort of thing that you just wouldn't expect. The recording devices, I would say, is also not fun, because we're just working with what we've got, you know. So we're using phones, we're using dictaphones, and I'm sitting there with my DAW open being like, okay, make it sound normal, how can I do this? I think probably one of the most stressful things so far is getting this musical isn't clickable in like any way, shape or form. Like ideally you would just sit down and I just have a beat going the entire time and be like, right, this is what you sing to, great, we've got a song going. But you can't do that. So to get that in sync is ridiculous. And then also the vamps, which for normal productions, you'd just keep going and you'd be ready and you'd be fine. And I'll be there like, okay, and we move on, fantastic. Whereas this one, we've got a super long vamp in one of the sequences. And I was literally going back and forth with Harvey for, half an hour, just trying to get this right. Being like, no, we need another bar. Or oh no, actually no, can you cut a second? No, I can't cut a second. What? Like, so, you know, lots of weird technical challenges, I'd say.
I mean, the first thing for me is just like small things, as you said, like rehearsal. Just like having all the meetings, like everything now is online. Everything, notes, rehearsals, like meetings, like absolutely everything is having to done online. And especially when all three of us have the worst internet connections in the world, it's a nightmare. I mean, just things like even they do a shot, I can't just watch it over and say, okay, let's change this. They have to do it, upload it. I have to download it and watch it, send it back. it just all takes so much more time, and it's not necessarily always an option to kind of go over every shot and ask them to redo every single shot, which has been not necessarily a challenge, just something that's very different to work with. It just means you have to spend a lot more time getting it right first time. It's been very fast paced. I mean, Livy's been recording 2 songs a day, we're filming a song a day, or a scene a day. So it's all kind of all happening at once, and it just means everything's happening simultaneously. So while I'm filming a scene with one of them, the other cast members are recording, and it makes, that's just all, it's very all dependent on each other. We can't film a song until we've got the song recorded. You can't record the song until you've got the piano track recorded. Like, it just all requires a different level of organisation. I think it's, yeah, like spending the time to find something that has worked has like completely paid off, and it's changed everything. So yeah.
We've had to sort of completely, well, we can't do anything that we originally planned. There's no set that we can do. There's no fancy lighting effects. The costumes that we had originally planned, just we can't use them anymore. So we've had to sort of, as they were saying, use what we have available to us. So we've had to use the cast's own clothes and try and build our costumes for the characters out of what we have, and use the spaces that are available within their own houses or just in their back gardens or something, to create pretty much like about 14 different locations in what realistically is just 2 different locations. So it's been a real big challenge to get that right.
As somebody who's tapped out from that entire process, you know, I've let you guys get on with it, and it looks great. Like, seeing all of these different places, I can totally believe like that's where they're supposed to be. Like the greenery that we've got for the middle of the show, which I won't go into details for, you know, because we'll keep some spoiler free. It's stunning, and it works really well. I think, for me, I think it's just important that we are getting some sort of theatre out at this time, you know, because that's where we've all turned. You know, like lockdown was announced, and we all went home and we hunkered down, and everybody was turning to the arts. You know, NT Live is doing their at-home broadcasts. Pretty sure Andrew Lloyd Webber is doing something, and it's all happening, and that's where people are turning to. But we're not seeing any new theatre, especially new musicals. Not new musicals specifically, but new musical productions, because it's really hard to do virtually. As we found out, it's a really dumb idea, but one that we've decided to do anyway. So I just want, you know, it's an hour and 15 minutes. It's not so much time out of your life, but I just want people to be able to just sit back and watch something new. You know, you can watch a new episode of TV, or they're releasing some new films to be streamed at home now, but nobody's doing this.
I think having that sort of aspect of it both being something that's created in quarantine for people in quarantine it's that kind of really nice connection that you can have, that theatre does give you normally, by being there in person. But I think that connection of sort of that mutual understanding that both the cast, the crew, and the people watching are all in this quarantine situation, and we're all sort of together either creating or being a part of this event that we've managed to sort of have actually it happen despite the circumstances. And I think it shows the strength of theatre and arts in general, that it can still happen through even a situation like this.
I mean, I completely agree. I think there's a line in the show that kind of goes, it's not a problem, it's a challenge. And that relates perfectly to what we've done. And I think I hope that people can sort of go, there is a way that they can do things that they want to do. If they think because of the quarantine, there's something they've wanted to do that they've kind of gone, now I can't do it, that's it. I hope people can kind of go, okay, so there are ways around things. If you really want to do something enough, you will be able to do it. And also hopefully just enjoy doing things. Like, hopefully it will come across that we've had a load of fun doing this, even though it's been stressful.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Is that when you're saying people can do anything that you set out to do, obviously there's probably a limit to that somewhere. But I'm pretty sure that this project has arisen out of our combined stubbornness. Because the amount of times that something has happened to kind of offset the production of being like, oh, well, you can't do it in this venue because the break even's not going to work, or you can't do it here because nobody would come and see it, or yada yada. And along the line, there's always been something trying to stop us. Every single way since the beginning. I think there's been 6 months in the works, more, since we first started kind of being like, right, this is a show that we want to do. And so even at this point, there's a bloody plague in the way. And we're just there like, yeah, right, we're doing it anyway. So I hope that it is, and it is also the thing about theatre as a whole, is that it does survive and it adapts.
So hopefully that was a slight insight into what we will be doing over the past month and a bit, and hopefully you enjoyed and learned something. It will be streaming on the 9th of May, so you can get your ticket in the link which we will attach. If you have any other questions that you guys want to ask, we will be doing a couple of more of these. I will be doing one with the cast, Nick will be doing one with the cast. So yeah, you can just message us any questions you have, or email, whatever's easiest. And hopefully you are all enjoying as much as you can isolation.